Hello and welcome to F1 Manager 23. If you're joining me from the F1 Manager 22 save, then I did leave you on a bit of a cliffhanger. The thumbnail by itself should answer that question for you, so I won't draw this out any longer than I need to. And without further ado, welcome to Alpha Tauri. Now, the objective here is to become the Alpha Tauri, the Alpha Bull. Side note, I am well aware that the whole Alpha theory is nonsense, but you know, I need to use it for the narrative here. Alpha versus Beta, etc. But of course, AlphaTauri are generally regarded as the Red Bull junior team. We're here to change that. They are probably also the worst team in the game to begin with, and that's a point that does need to be made. Everything here is as it was at the beginning of the season in Bahrain. There's no modified performance based on where teams are now. It is all as it was at the very start, which does of course also include Nick de Vries. But performance-wise, everyone should be as they were in that first race, so Aston Martin probably second best, McLaren down towards the bottom, etc. And for a game start, the race weekend is only 11 days away. I thought I'd get a little bit more time to set things up. But in regards to YouTube and this series here, this will be a much more streamlined experience. If you want to see a full nitty-gritty, me explaining every decision I'm making kind of save, then I will be streaming a separate save over on Twitch with Haas. So if you want to see all the behind the scenes stuff, then go over to Twitch, watch me on there with the Haas save. You're not going to be seeing a lot of that background stuff here, in the interest of not wasting your time too much. So let me get prepared for the first race, because we will be doing that. I will say, by the way, first and foremost, first impressions, I'm not overly keen on the UI. It feels a little bit mobile game to me. And I do have a bigger bugbear later on, but I understand why they've done that. But in terms of the general layout and the general play of most things, everything is kind of the same. It's just they've jazzed up the UI in their own way this time around. I did prefer last year's, if I'm honest, but it's a bit blocky for me. It felt more connected before, for whatever reason. There's no new tabs as such. Fastest pit stops is a thing this year, as is full simulation of F2 and F3 with their results. I was trying to find the page where you could see them, but okay, because they've not done it yet, I don't know where that is. Probably under standings. There we are. There they are. So as the series progresses, then you'll see the F2, F3, etc., so on and so forth. But pretty much everything is as it was last year on the face of things. Just the one major change in terms of the way the game will play is here in development. It's no longer just a point-by-point basis as and when they earn them. It is a more continuous development cycle, more like Football Manager, really, in the sense that you actually do specifically tell them to focus on certain areas. Speaking of which, I'm going to tell Nick de Vries to develop driving standards, because they appear to be the three worst attributes out of the options I can give them. Wheel-to-wheel is another option, but I'd rather him not crash. I'm going to stick Yuki Tsunoda on pace short runs. Does have high development rate, interestingly, Yuki Tsunoda. I'm not sure he was high development rate last year. This is important to note, of course, that despite the fact that Nick de Vries is a rookie, he is 28. So his development rate isn't going to be strong. And whilst, of course, in real life he was replaced by Daniel Ricciardo as of the last Grand Prix, there's part of me that's considering just making that change as and when it happened in the game as well, because you can do that. You can do an instant hiring, or you can actually hire at the end of the season in advance now as well. That's another quality of life change they've made. What to do with Nick de Vries is a question mark. He will be, of course, the one that's more likely to go first, but we're not going to do any driver changes immediately here. This is going to be very focused and very specifically considered, shall we say. But anyway, that's enough waffle for me up front. I won't show you any practice, of course. As far as I'm aware, practice hasn't really changed that much in the way it plays out. I will see you for qualifying, where we'll most likely go out in qualifying 1, if I remember how bad the AlphaTauris were at the beginning of the season, and frankly, still are. I've no idea why Lance Stroll has a grid penalty, but I did notice a moment in which Logan Sargent drove into someone. I think it was a Ferrari, because that came up as a event. No idea why Stroll has one. The one thing I will say about practice is far less interruptions. We'll see how that plays out when, you know, there's a rainy session and it's constantly changing in between two rain settings, but by and large, less interruptions. Also, preparation, quite solid. Obviously, car part knowledge starts afresh still. Driver confidence is a thing, and that 96 feeds into it. You can't really see it behind Nick de Vries, but Yuki Tsunoda you can see quite clearly at 96. Puts him there, apparently. Like, full 100%, still not top end. I guess they just need somewhere to go. You know, I hadn't even clocked the fact that Crofty's Saturday preview voiceover thing hadn't popped in before P3 like it did last year. I always said that should be before qualifying, and they've actually put it there this year. Obviously, I don't need to do anything with these. So I wonder if qualifying still works out the same way as it did last year. Tsunoda out first. I have to remember that actually as well. Sonoda is the faster of the two drivers, so I need to send him as the primary. I'm so used to clicking this side first because of Gasly and then George Russell last year, but welcome to qualifying. This is the thing that I mentioned I didn't like. I don't like the colour map. I much prefer the sort of shades of blue version from last year, but I know why they've done this. It's because it's exactly the same in the official F1 preview graphics in reality on actual broadcasts. Kind of, it's the map that they show over the intros with Crofty's voiceover, and it looks like this now in the real broadcast. So they've done it here like that. De Vries has gone faster than Sonoda somehow. I don't like that as much. I think it looked better stylistically on the previous one, but, you know, I'll get used to it. Wait, Magnussen's just going really slowly. What's happened there? Well, that's gone splendidly. Oscar Piastri just shoved Magnussen off the track, I think. Now, I'm not sure it's because I had a sort of graphical filter over last year's game. I never really mentioned it, but is it just me, or do the cars look a little bit more toy car than they did last year? Is there something about them that makes them look less real? Not a huge deal, but just something about it doesn't feel quite as polished, which is odd. Also, novelty that I'm having to put a new set of tyres on in Q1. So not used to that. Now, the Ferraris will put Sonoda in the bottom 5, but De Vries will be outside of the bottom 5, I suspect. Once Ocon does his lap. There it is. I think someone's just gone for a Sargent. Sargent's gone now, which is odd. Why are drivers coming out with 4 minutes to go? That's really early and has me concerned that they're going to get in the way of actual flying laps at the end. Not only that, it's the bloody Ferrari as well that's just come out now, and I think that was a Red Bull too. Although Perez isn't super safe, I can see why he would want to go again. But I can see a Ferrari's come out, so they've not improved that. It's Leclerc as well. First place right now. All right, that's one check mark into the things I really wish had been improved for this year's game. Team intelligence and sending them out for a second run, which does imply that everyone's going to go again. I don't want to sound like a negative Nelly, but how difficult is it not just to put in this one line of coding that kind of puts like a check mark over teams' expected knockout times, and then just something that goes, I think we might be safe for them, just to prevent this happening. There's no reason why Leclerc would be going again, but you know, that's a layover from last year. Merck's going again, even though they've got really no danger of being knocked out, but more danger than the Ferrari does. Honestly, 2.5 minutes. I'm not sure how long it takes. There's the Williams. I'm sending Sonoda out now, because typically a minute plus a lap was how I ran it last year. But everyone's coming out really late, so I'm not confident. Also, I kind of wish all the dots were a little bit more contrasty. I wish the Red Bull dots were a lot bluer, because then they can make the Alpha Tauri dots a little bit bluer, so then they don't look like the Haas dots, because they're a bit grey as things stand. I suspect that's a real life translation as well. I suspect they're the colour of the dots on real life broadcast too. Not much they can do about that. Looks like Perez is on a flying lap, which could be problematic because he's just flown through everyone. Why do I feel like some people haven't come back out again? I am so confused what's going on in this qualifying session. I hope this isn't how qualifying is from now on, because before it was too predictable. Now I just have no idea what's happening. The Ferrari came out in first when he had no reason to. One of the McLarens hasn't come out when they absolutely needed to. What's going on? I mean, we'll go on board with Yuki Tsunoda for his flying lap. He's miles ahead of De Vries, who I sent out immediately behind him, which concerns me in its own way. And here's the other big thing. Get out of the way, whoever that is. Visor cam. I must say, this is sick, by the way. This is superb, and checker flag just came out, and they've only just gone up through turn 3, really, so I think I called that right with a minute plus a regular lap, so it's still that kind of ballpark. Effectively about 2/3 of the lap distance on top of the regular lap, because there's a 90-second lap here, so a minute's about 2/3. There's a vehicle ahead of us, which I don't know if it's on a flying lap or not. No, they're not, and they've just got straight in the way. Thank you for that. This is one very, very cool feature. Visor cam is lovely. If you prefer visor cam or just regular on board, let me know. I will prioritize whichever one is preferred, but I'm going to get the most out of visor cam in this first episode. De Vries still 15th. Bottas is on the road behind, I believe. So I could do with a preview. Yuki Tsunoda faster first sector. De Vries isn't faster on fresh tyres, which is not helpful. Yuki's still 16th. I mean, he did just get held up by that Red Bull, which doesn't help. The good news is Bottas didn't go faster either. So De Vries, remarkably, is the one that got through. I didn't put in any optional incentives in because I wasn't convinced we'd get out of Q1. But De Vries in 15th is an interesting start. Piastri miles off. But he didn't come out again. He was the one that didn't come out again. Oh, is it because he hit? I mean, he couldn't have done that much damage to his vehicle, surely. All right, so about 2.5 minutes to go. A couple of cars have come out, so I'm going to send De Vries behind them. Fortunately, it's the Aston Martin that got ahead of us rather than the Williams. Alas, I'm just wondering if the slipstream effect is as potent as it was last year, because it was worth a good half second slipstreaming someone. It's Alonso as well, not Stroll. Although Stroll's faster somehow. Ooh, on board on 2 times speed. That's a high-pitched noise. We'll go back to 1 times as someone literally just crossed the line ahead of us there and was really obnoxious about it. I was about to say Hamilton's in danger here, but he might be the Merc that's just crossing a line now to start a flying lap, maybe? That doesn't feel like full power for Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton might be out. Perez is a second lap. He got out of the bottom. Sorry, I immediately abandoned Nick de Vries's flying lap. I thought that was rain for a second. But on board, he has definitely lost the toe from Alonso, which is not helpful. Norris has taken the checkered. I'm so confused why certain drivers haven't come out again. Like Hulkenberg, Ocon, Norris. Why have they not come out again? Gasly too, for that matter. Somehow, they've made qualifying less realistic. From making it unrealistic because everyone came out every single time, both at the start and the end, to now just people just randomly are coming out again. It's a confusing situation. Nick de Vries finds... I'm sorry. He had used tyres on the first attempt and has somehow gained 40... Oh, God. Please tell... I was hoping that would change the benefit of a fresh tyre set. How is he 6/10 worse than Albon on fresh tyres? I mean, he was 15th in Q1 anyway, but how was he 6/10 slower both times? Nick de Vries was behind someone when he did his Q1 lap first time round. I remember because I sent Yuki out and then a Haskell in between us. I think he slipstreamed the Haas on that first lap, which is why he was faster than Yuki. I think that's what's happened. Either way, I don't think either driver was faster than Albon. Well, this is confusing. Why have they put the lap thing on the right-hand side? Also, there's no delta anymore here, which is obnoxiously annoying. So I can't actually see if it's better than the other strategies. No, 2 stops half a second faster, apparently, which is good. Just which version? Soft, medium would be apparently faster, but this might be a case of just optimizing what stop they come in on. Oh, now there's a delta. If you change it within the strategy, that's not at all confusing. I don't know who's a better preserver of tyres. I'm going to assume the same thing applies here in terms of driving options off the line, but I think weirdly Yuki's the better smoothness rating. I can't look, though. Maybe if I click swap driver. No, I can't swap driver.
Here's a determined Sainz lining up on the grid.
They're 4th on the grid, so I'd expect to see them mount a challenge for the top 3 in this race.
Right, let's get to it then. Here we go with the Bahrain Grand Prix. It's lights out and away we go.
Some people starting on the medium then. Just checking that is deployed because it's changed colour. I wasn't 100%. I'm hoping the sound levels are around the same. I put it on the same setting because I had them last year, so fingers crossed it's the same volume. If I have to tweak it next race, apologies if it's too loud or too quiet. But line astern, still. Now, one thing apparently that's crucial this year is tyre temperature. So it's all well and good slamming it on 5 push for the entire stint, or entire first lap. As soon as those tyres get too warm, you lose a bit of performance, which was kind of a thing last year, but not to the same degree as it is this year. And immediately they're getting quite close, so I'm getting that off. It's around 115, 116 degrees. I mean, I'll let them fight each other on this first lap. By the way, I'll come back in here. One thing I was going to say in regards to AlphaTauri and the reason why I chose them is I actually quite typically like their liveries. Ironically, this is the one year I don't, because of the All-in sponsorship and the additional red bits. I actually don't like the AlphaTauri livery this year, just because that red thing is just not kind of fitting in as neatly as other sponsors have done in the past. Like the blue and white has looked spectacular year on year. There's not really much they need to do with it, but then that all and red stuff kind of ruins it. I mean, it's the thrilling first lap, isn't it? As actually, the fuel situation is actually immediately becoming a problem. If the tyre temperatures could come down, that'd be lovely. Instead of continuing to go up, whereas they're still deploying. Okay, that fuel situation has gone woefully the wrong direction, and I do still dislike the fact that this is in kilograms and not laps. Telling me I've got, minus half a kilogram is utterly pointless if I don't know how many laps that's representative of. Like, if I need to recover 3 laps worth of fuel or half a lap's worth of fuel, that's a totally different number than half a kilogram or 1 kilogram. I mean, I can sort of make an estimate of the fact it was 100 and something kilograms to begin with, about 2 kilograms a lap here, but Yuki should have DRS and has indeed, I think, made the move there, or is still trying to. It's inadvertently given Nick de Vries the DRS down the main straight. I got mildly panicked as Sargent entered that mix. He was technically behind at that point. I mean, that was a little bit clumsy animation, but cool, nonetheless. Technically made an overtake, even though it was his own fault for being behind in the first place. Oh, God, I've just noticed there was a big bar down there saying which driver it was, which is great for you understanding it, but terrible for thumbnails. All right, so Yuki Tsunoda has got vaguely within a second. See if I can get him more permanently within a second of Albon. And by within a second of Albon, I mean past him. That is into turn 3. That's a decent move. I'm loving that new line of dialogue. De Vries behind Sargent will have DRS because he no longer has DRS on the drivers ahead. That was eye-twistingly confusing, that turn there. So Albon will be behind Yuki, of course, for this straight. As soon as Albon gets Tsunoda back, by the way, I'm topping up on his fuel. Actually, that's a good point. Whilst De Vries is behind Sargent, I'll use this new top-up feature. There's Harvest and then there's top-up, which is nice. Meanwhile, looking at the full race picture now, Verstappen clear, Leclerc, Perez sights. The Ferraris are a little bit more competitive than they were in real life. Russell, Ocon. Actually, I can't remember. First race, the Ferraris might actually be relatively competitive, but of course it was Red Bull, Alonso. In the end, does look like they are recovering fuel to a sensible degree. Does look like Albon is struggling to get Tsunoda back, though, which makes me more hesitant to use the top-up feature. I'd rather he got him back and then we could use Albon for the tow, but screw it, I'm going to put Yuki on top-up. See if we can invite the Albon overtake. As De Vries gets Sargent even on top-up mode. Someone's crashed. Oh my God, don't tell me it's the two. Oh, it's the two Alfa Romeos. I thought it was the Ferraris. Oh, he nearly collected the. That's about his teammate. Also, why did it say driver rather than specifically saying it was Bottas? Just a yellow flag by the looks of things. No safety car for that. Oh no, Zhou Guan Yu got hit. Well, it was Zhou Guan Yu who hit Bottas. Apparently he's claimed a penalty for that, even though Bottas isn't out. Normally a little bit more lenient with incidents like that. I'll take De Vries off harvesting now. De Vries is inching closer to Tsunoda, although Sargent has got him in DRS, so that's always fun. Wait, Tsunoda's called Gasly because they're both on medium tyres. And for whatever reason, the mediums aren't as good, which is why they were catching. Tsunoda's still on top-up mode, by the way. He's caught Gasly up, his former teammate, of course. I was considering in the latter stages of the Aston Martin F1 Manager career last year to do a separate stream save. And I was considering doing AlphaTauri then, but then of course I realised Gasly was at AlphaTauri at the start of last year, and I had Gasly at Aston Martin at the time I was considering it. So that's what put me off it last year. I'll say he's called Gasly. He's actually lost it by bringing his tyre temperature down, but I'm sure he'll catch up again. Probably don't even need to top up anymore. I don't think Zhou's pitted. And he is losing time. I don't know if that's just a lack of DRS or if it is that front wing damage, but interesting that Nick De Vries' confidence has gone down over the course of this race. So both ourselves and Sargent have caught Albon. I'd forgotten that was a thing. I've forgotten that the overtake aggression was a thing. I'll keep it on medium for now. This is confusing now because it's not telling me how many laps I need until... I swear this was different last year. I swear you could see more of this information. So he's close to... I'm presuming he'll tell me when his optimal pit stop is, but one thing they also didn't do is show us like the individual sector plus minuses in qualifying. Really simple thing that I was hoping they were going to add, but they didn't. So we still have no idea what green or yellow means on a qualifying lap sector-wise, whether it's, you know, minus half a second or minus 1,000th of a second. We just know it's better or worse. Fuel's neutral again. It's interesting because they're nowhere near needing the new tyre, but this might be a case of just having fresh tyres is more beneficial overall lap time wise than only doing one pit stop. And De Vries is obviously stuck in that situation of being behind two vehicles at the same time, whereas Tsunoda isn't. I believe it'll be his pit stop next lap, so I'm going attack on his tyres even though he might have a minor issue temperature wise. I'm hoping the difference in attacking them, I need mediums, thank you. Yuki, push that fuel as well while he's at it. Piastri's pitting. That's actually quite early for Piastri. Zhou will serve his penalty and have his front wing changed in the process, I imagine, which actually will see him get lapped temporarily because he's come out just ahead of the two Red Bulls who are fighting each other. Yeah, so those tyre temperatures have gone way up and he's not actually got any closer to Gasly, which is interesting. That was the experiment I wanted to do. I mean, he is being pulled by Norris, I guess. Yuki Tsunoda in and out. Hulkenberg's had a pit stop issue. It's interesting you see other people's pit stop issues. Fourth fastest pit stop, 2.6. There's been a crash. What's this? That is that's Hamilton on the inside of... Oh dear. Did he? Did he, Lewis? Again, both drivers have got going though, so I don't think that's affected anything. Tsunoda comes out 16th behind Hulkenberg. Don't know why I decided to say it like that, but still out ahead, miles ahead of Piastri and ahead of Magnussen. He's out ahead of Magnussen, but Hulkenberg was the one with the pit stop issue. Now, the one thing that's going to be useful here is actually attacking the tyres to get them up to temperature. and then obviously taking it off as soon as they are. I wonder if that's actually going to be a bigger deal this time, that warming up of the tyres. Because if having too hot tyres is an issue, then I'm going to presume the reverse is also. See if the undercut is a thing, because Hulkenberg's got out on softs, and he is driving away. And there we are. Temperatures are there now. Magnussen similarly is, I can just look normally, I don't need to look at his actual tyres. On softs as well, but they're not fresh softs by the looks of things, unlike these guys. Of course, because they go into Q3 at Haas, because they're quite good on race day 1. Switch back just in time. As the cameraman has a little bit of a wobbly, but, you know, get it all right. 2.671, that's about the same as Tsunoda's, but only 8th fastest pit stop now. As Hamilton lock-on's incident has put them behind people. Right, so obviously won't make him attack the fuel now, but attack the tyres so they get up to temperature and send him on his way. Sargent is having a very late first pit stop. So I'm intrigued to see if he's held on to Albon with those tyres. It does concern me he's managed to hold on to Albon with those tyres though, up to that point. Because they were on 35%. He should have been about 4 seconds a lap slower with those tyres. Albon's had a pit stop issue, that's useful. And he's come out behind De Vries, who himself is 10 seconds behind Tsunoda. How is De Vries so far behind? Also, Magnussen got through Tsunoda at some point, and I wasn't warned of that. That's the difference between softs and mediums, I guess. But we'll have that advantage in the final stint. Oh, I guess that means then if Tsunoda can't hold on to Magnussen, not a lot we can do. Albon, presumably having started on mediums, will be on softs the rest of this race. Is on the back of De Vries, and this will be an easy overtake for him. Bye, Alex. Bye. Have fun on those softs, mate. Just let old Nicky boy be towed along. So Yuki's confidence is still quite high. I love the fact, by the way, the confidence bars are different sizes. So Yuki's quite a confident lad to begin with, apparently. Personal best sector 2 improves confidence. That's interesting. Is Piastri on softs? He is. So he is hunting De Vries now. Of course, Hamilton's behind as well. So that's the interesting and fun thing. Rarely defend when you get someone like Hamilton behind you. Is going to be helpful. But Piastri, we'd like to keep behind. So I'll always defend on Piastri, but I'll rarely defend Hamilton if Hamilton gets through first. But our pace on these mediums is non-existent. Good lord. The speed in which other drivers have caught up is remarkable. So if we can inadvertently basically just let Hamilton through. To be fair, I've told him always defend. I don't think it makes a difference for Hamilton. He's gone. Push Piastri out of the way. Now that shouldn't be a confidence loss because that's Hamilton. I know he's been overtaken. You know, he'll also have got the DRS for one sector. Now everyone behind I do want him to defend from. He's got a train now to Ocon. Is everyone on softs behind him? Has anyone gone on to mediums? Sargent came out in that train though. He hasn't caught it. Gasly's done the fastest lap. Where's Gasly? 8th right now. New softs has put him out there, apparently. Yeah, these mediums have got no pace. So going back onto softs later on is just a case of getting onto the faster tyre again. I reckon you could go a little bit aggressive on these because we're a little bit under the temperature threshold. So I reckon you could go a little bit aggressive and get a little bit more time out of these without getting, you know, too dangerously close to the... Oh, maybe not. Like almost immediately they're at that threshold. Yuki? I can't even see you. Oh, there he is.
Now this
I want to see what happens here because we've been told that drivers getting back on the track is a lot smoother this year. Like they just come straight back on. That wasn't really conclusive one way or the other. But that was also a direct result of me telling him to push. Hamilton is the driver behind him. I'm not going to make him attack him. I'm actually going to come off push now because he's actually getting close to that temperature threshold anyway. We can go a little bit push on the fuel for a tiny... Oh, for God's sake, really? Like immediately De Vries. Immediately De Vries. What are you doing? Two drives... How have you locked up there? Crazy. How are the temperatures of these tyres higher now they're just on regular drive again? How is the temperature... Is that because of the lockup? I mean, I'm glad he let Ocon through, really, but Sargent is annoying as a driver to have let through. Of course, he's lost a little bit of... Oh, both of them have locked up and lost a little bit of tyre wear. Lockups actually matter to tyre wear now. Interesting to note. Just get that under 120 again, Nick. Come on, mate. There we are. That'll do. All right, everyone behind, now defend. Yuki actually held on to Hamilton's DRS for a little bit there. In fact, he's not really losing Hamilton too much, considering it's Hamilton. Oh, he has now. He was doing all right for a moment there, and then Hamilton just disappeared up the road. In fact, Piastri's dropped back through. I put him on always defend because of Piastri, but Ocon's got through both of them. That's the leaders behind Nick De Vries, which is Sainz and Alonso as things stand. I'm not unconvinced that Perez and Verstappen are one-stopping, because they stayed on their softs quite long, but they're certainly going to be on soft tyres at the end of their stint. Intrigued to see what the last laps were. So Tsunoda on 70% mediums, 139.3. Hamilton 136 on softs, Albon 138 on softs. Not helpful. But Piastri's slower on those older softs, and De Vries similar ballpark as those drivers on those older softs in not quite as good cars. So Magnussen going on to mediums now. Comes out ahead of Tsunoda somehow. Remember when he came out behind Tsunoda on the first pit stops? That's how much better the softs are. He gained a full pit stop on Tsunoda in that time. I know Tsunoda locked up, but in fact, this could actually really be helpful for Tsunoda, thinking about it. You can use Magnussen as a tow on his fresher mediums, hopefully. Nope, it just immediately loses him. I'm not going to pretend that I was anticipating points here. I mean, it says he ran wide. I can't really see where or how, but we're coming up to Tsunoda's pit stop lap, and I am looking at both our drivers here. There is obviously now a big enough gap between them. We could pit them on the same lap. In fact, this might be the optimal lap for Yuki. Oh, it is. It just didn't tell me it was. I'm still not going to. I'm going to put De Vries in next lap. But that's Yuki in. Albon, Bottas, and Sargent have all come in at the same time. Oh, Albon and Sargent were far enough apart. It didn't really make a difference. Also, somehow, Yuki had got a full pit stop on Nick. Pretty much. As they come out together. I think that was Alonso going off behind us. That's Nick in and out. So now the ball is in our court. Unfortunately, we are now 20 seconds behind Hulkenberg still. And apparently, we're not faster than them on softs. Please make it make sense. Oh, Albon's on softs. Of course, Albon's on softs as well, isn't he? It's the Hasses that we need to be paying attention to. Magnussen's doing 140s. Hulkenberg's doing 137.8s. We're doing 137.9s on softs. Hulkenberg on mediums is as fast as Tsunoda on softs. De Vries at least caught Piastri and dealt with him briefly. Verstappen's had a pit stop issue, which might define the race. De Vries and Piastri are fighting each other lap by lap here. He's on mediums. He should be non-existent at this point in time. Based on how the other drivers did on their softs compared to our mediums, De Vries should just drive away from Piastri here. Albon's doing 135.7s on his softs. Does our car... I mean, I know our car isn't good, but what? How is our car... I know he got overtaken by Ocon, but... Oh, he did a 136.6 that lap. How is it a second slower than the Williams? Yuki, why are you fighting Ocon? I mean, you can see so much from this angle. There's Ocon on the right. I don't know who's got DRS here. Might be us, actually. It is. I mean, we have no right to be battling Ocon here. Watch the outboard on that. Because it's sensible, because he keeps himself behind by the DRS detection point. I think they just got lapped, which is why there's another... Like, there's cars to lap them behind them. I can see them. Which is Alonso and Leclerc, I think. De Vries is scot-free at this point. There's no one behind him that can lap him anytime soon. Gasly is the next nearest vehicle, I think, in order. Wait, Gasly's so far ahead of Russell. What? Oh no, that's Hamilton. Russell and Stroll are with him. Right, so that's Gasly, Russell, Stroll, 40 seconds off the pace. Hamilton another 20 seconds off because he crashed with Ocon, of course. Hulkenberg having a solid race in 10th. Magnussen with Albon. Hello, Alex. Like, Albon's done to Magnussen what I was expecting Yuki to do. There's a front runner there about to lap them. Sargent's on softs as well. Okay. I swear Sargent's done soft. He must have done medium on the middle stint as well. But De Vries can't drop Piastri, who is on mediums. I think it's costing them all time down there. Yuki at least is doing okay times. Magnussen is just dead slow. I don't know why Magnussen is so much slower than Hulkenberg on the same tyres. I mean, I know they're a lot more worn, but Yuki, I mean, I'm glad they bleep out his swearing. Just want to point out there, Yuki, he's overtaken you before the DRS detection point for the main straight. The moron. Esteban, come on. You're better than that. Why is Norris's tyres 80%? When did he pit? That's really late for him to have pitted. Get him back, Yuki. Get him back. You've got DRS. You're going to get lapped this lap, probably. Classic Yuki. Alonso's having a race. He literally just zoomed off behind us in the back of camera when we were focusing one of our drivers as he was about to lap them. I mean, great camera angle there, folks. Captured that spin perfectly. F1 manager there, accurately reflecting the quality of real-life F1 broadcasts. In the sense that we saw absolutely nothing. Is Magnussen coming towards us? We're only 6 seconds behind him now, but 15th and 18th. It's hardly progress, is it? De Vries is losing Sargent because he's fighting bloody Piastri. I can't do anything about it either. I'll see if we can just get out of DRS of him because it is getting silly now. Yuki's lost Ocon as well. Of course you did. Oh, De Vries is getting fired at the first available opportunity. In trying to clear Piastri, he is locked up. I didn't even push his actual pace. I just pushed his deployment. Apparently that was too much for him. As Yuki's got Ocon back somewhere. Because of the lapping Leclerc? Pushed Ocon back into his territory? I don't know what's happened there, actually. But he's got him back at some point. I didn't get a replay for that. I don't like this, by the way. Just tell me the laps. I don't want 3 laps to go. Because it's not 3 laps to go for us. It's 2 laps to go for us. I want to know what lap we're on precisely. There we are. Thank you. 56. We're 1 lap down. Actually, is that lap 56 for us? Or is that lap 56 for the leader? I think we'll get a notification for leader final lap as I think Verstappen's closing in on Hamilton to lap him. Might not catch him. Yuki's being dragged along here. Yeah, he's just been told he's got 3 laps to go, which is a barefaced lie. He's not lapped anyone twice, has he? No. De Vries is doing a faster lap than Piastri, so he will catch him, possibly lap him, and possibly overtake him. So apparently there wasn't enough pace to catch up to Magnussen, but Tsunoda's stayed in Ocon's DRS. Next lap will be final lap, with Perez in the lead because Verstappen had a mistake. Or pit stop error, I think it was. So De Vries is half a lap behind, of course. Tyre just on the fringe of overheating for Yuki Tsunoda. Oh, he's outside of DRS now. Yuki's lost him. Oh, great. Well, De Vries, if he could just be better than Piastri, that'd be great. Oh, Magnussen's just evaporated. Why is he suddenly just in front of us? Because his medium tyres have gone under 40%. Both Ocon and ourselves have caught him. It's last lap. Go for it, mate. I mean, this is going to go well. Overtake aggression, confidence low. Get him, Nick. Deploy from here, sunshine. Go on, Yuki. Get Magnussen. Beat the Haas. Or don't. Whatever. Or crash. Ironically, he'll still get going and still finish 15th, so it's made 0 difference. Wait, hang on. Magnussen's been done here. So I've told Yuki to be aggressive on his overtake on this final lap. Oh, Magnussen went off there. I didn't notice Magnussen go flying off further, so he's actually got him, and Magnussen's been penalised for turning in. That's interesting that it's not automatically penalised the car behind. Ignore, you're literally on the final corner and the checkered flag's there. So he's actually got Magnussen in the end. And Magnussen's got a penalty, so that might get deployed at the end. He might be behind Bottas and Sargent. Meanwhile, I can't push his fuel just in case he goes under somehow on the last corner. De Vries not close enough. Get him on the line, Nick. Get him on the line. Joey only ended up 2 seconds behind, alarmingly. Well, a sobering first race.
There's Alex Albon making his way back.
Yeah, there's Alex. Why have we been told about Alex? One thing I didn't say is, I was going to say at the beginning is, I found it interesting it focused on Carlos Sainz at the start of the race, saying he qualified 4th and therefore will be looking to get onto the podium, and he's ironically actually on the podium there. So I'm glad it hasn't just decided to tell us where R2 drivers are automatically. It's focusing on other people to keep that a little bit of variety up. And Stroll did the fastest lap. Nick De Vries goes down 4 places because he is rubbish, apparently. Yuki Tsunoda does go up 2, though. I mean, Haas have done a Haas there. Is that simulating Haas's tyre wear problems? Because that's interesting if it is. If the car itself factors into the tyre wear. Nico Hülkenberg still finishes 10th, though. Good for him. Gets a point. And obviously that reflects that. In terms of overall, better than Alfa Romeo, at least. We'll take. DHL fastest pit stop competition. We got a point. I don't know what sorts this out. I assume the points are awarded in the same principle. Like it's 25 for one driver and 15 for the other. That makes 40 here maybe. And that's like 18 and 12 perhaps. But those are the pit stop times, of course. They did exactly the same pit stop time on Yuki both times. That's less money than I'm used to coming in. 2 million in. Definitely not the 6 we used to get with Aston Martin. Also, yeah, I've gone aggressive on the facilities, the minor facilities. Action required, missing car part. Why did it just not automatically not put a new front wing on? That's weird. I hope I don't have to do that every time. But there's the results of the F2 race. Bosch and Porsche Duen and F3 Bortoletto, Aaron and Colapinto in there. I'm intrigued to see what the this year's new gen faces look like. And if there's more of them. I have put in 2 car pots. They will be arriving in time for Australia. Whether or not we can actually build enough of them is a different question. I think we should be okay on that front. I don't think we're sort of got too much in extra costs that we need to worry too much about like emergency car parts. So I think we can probably be a little bit more aggressive in just gathering car parts. There will be no new car parts for next race, unfortunately, still. Is that the new ATR period? Oh, I could have been more aggressive on that. Building new car parts. Okay, but never mind. But I'll see you for the next race in Jeddah, in Saudi Arabia. It's, well, we knew it wasn't going to be easy, let's be honest, with Alpha Tauri, but we're back at the beginning. Let the journey commence. If you've enjoyed this episode, do like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, thank you for watching. Ta-ra.